His coach was fired, and Rodgers was dealing with a knee injury during the season. So has that bad man already peaked in Green Bay? Well, former Packers players have come out since the hiring of Matt LaFleur, questioning if Rodgers will be able to coexist with his new coach. NFL.com also has Aaron Rodgers as one of the quarterbacks whose stock is pointing down after a disappointing season. Former NFL quarterback Dan Orlovsky back with us, who's gone up against Rodgers 15 times.
15 too many, trust me.
Max, I'll start with you. Do you agree that Rodgers' stock is down?
Oh, yeah, and I'm buying. I'm like, Rodgers' stock is down, and all I can say is, buy, buy, buy. Aaron Rodgers is the best football player who ever lived. I'm not saying the greatest. He's not the most accomplished. I can't argue
He's
that
not
over
Tom
longevity.
Brady,
I'm talking about watching one player and saying his influence on whether or not you win that game all by himself. Aaron Rodgers, it's not particularly close, actually. And I love Lawrence Taylor, but it's hard for one defensive player to match a quarterback, especially the way the game is played now. Look, his stock is down. He was just hurt.
Yeah.
Team didn't make the playoffs. Tom Brady, his contemporary, Brady's had two real competitors as contemporaries, first Peyton Manning and then Aaron Rodgers. And of course, he's had Bill Belichick the whole time, so he gets, it's an absurd advantage. But it's down compared to Brady because Brady just won the Super Bowl.
What's that?
Behind his defense and running game. In spite of Tom Brady's throwing an interception to end the AFC Championship game that got called back on a pre-snap penalty, in spite of the fact that he was 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions over that game, and the touchdown and the Super Bowl should have been 1 and 4.
How many rings is
in
that
spite
for Tom?
of the fact
I'm hearing
that
white noise right now.
In
There's something earlier.
Bad static in our
How many
ears.
rings does Tom Brady
in
have now?
spite of what are you, his PR person?
I'm just wondering. I can't remember.
In spite of Belichick has a lot of rings. In spite of the fact that he rode his defense and running game to yet another Super Bowl, in spite of the fact that was like a 25 QBR, the answer is Tom Brady. And he is the greatest of all time. He's the most accomplished. But the best is Rodgers. His stock is down not just because of the impression that Brady is willing to follow the game plan in ways Rodgers is not. It's also because of the injury and the fact that we have Patrick Mahomes in the league now, and we look at him and go, ooh, he does a lot of the stuff that Rodgers does, but he's a whole lot younger, right? He's better at the same age than Rodgers. So there are ascending young quarterbacks. There's a hurt Rodgers in a volatile situation recently in Green Bay, and there's the comparison to Brady's yet another Super Bowl. His stock is down, and all I can tell everyone is buy Aaron Rodgers stock now.
You got to valid comparisons at the end of your soliloquy. The comparison, the mention of Aaron Rodgers in the same breath of Tom Brady is at this point sacrilegious and embarrassing. They should not be put in the same category nor in the same discussion. When you mention Tom Brady from now on, I think you'd be doing history and yourself a service to only mention names like Michael Jordan. It is pan sports. It's not even about football anymore. It's about greatest athletes, and don't talk to me about their vertical leap, greatest athletes of history. It's not about Rodgers for Brady anymore. Rodgers' stock is down because of that fact, Max. He is now properly mentioned in the same breath as guys like Patrick Mahomes. While a few years ago we would have said who are the best quarterbacks in the league, we would have said Brady and Rodgers. Now you have to have an actual conversation about is it Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes? Rodgers or Drew Brees? And I know Drew Brees had a bad last couple of games at the end of the season. That's where Rodgers belongs. I once had a conversation about is Aaron Rodgers overrated? The way to start that conversation is where is he rated? Because a lot of people like Max put him on this absurd plane. And if that's accurate, he's massively overrated. But if you talk about him as a comparison with Mahomes and Brees, he's properly rated, and that has brought his stock down. And here's the most important point, Dan. It's because of the things that happen off the field. It's because of the things we're hearing from former players, and it's a lot.
I don't like the former player junk either. Like a lot of you guys, a lot of the former players benefited from Rodgers being so good. So now to come out and know that you no longer play with him,
but
and
Dan,
have negative stuff to say.
It feels like a lot of his teammates don't like him, though.
It does, and it's not ignorable. Dan, it's not ignorable.
He's better than them.
You can't ignore. He's better than them.
Because he's accomplished more, so there's a level of jealousy.
Do you really think that Greg Jennings, Jermichael Finley, KGB, Jeff Janis are all jealous of Aaron Rodgers' accomplishment when they tell you he's got?
They also all benefited from Rodgers.
That may be, but they also saw the limitations.
Hey, Dan, real quick, so you can get in here. I think that actually the best comparison for Aaron Rodgers along the lines you're going is if Dan Marino had won a Super Bowl. Then the comparisons, him to Montana, everyone always thought he was a much more talented player. Montana had Joe Walsh and was clutch and benefited from that.
Listen, there's a lot of great players, a lot of great quarterbacks that guys at times don't get along with. You butt heads because the demand of what they ask of you or their expectation level, or the quarterback is the most desired attention getter in the really all of sports. Here's my thing with like the Aaron Rodgers situation. So you mean to tell me that a quarterback that got hurt in week 1, who had no talent around him, and a head coach who was fired for lack of creativity is down? That's our justification for down? Because if we look at last year, his starting receivers outside of Devontae Adams, because Cobb was hurt, were a 6th rounder, a free agent, and a 5th rounder. The last time we saw Aaron Rodgers healthy is 2016. He threw for 40 touchdowns. He had 4 first-rounders as weapons.
Tom Brady turned a quarterback from New Mexico into a guy who people talk about as a Hall of Famer.
Who?
Julian Edelman.
He's from Toledo, bro.
Wherever he's from, what position did he play?
Come on, Will.
I like that he's from Toledo.
Dan,
the argument.
let me
Wait,
ask
hold
you
on.
this. Though. You're
Quarterback.
acting like
He played
there's no
quarterback, Dan.
talent around him.
There isn't.
Now Aaron Rodgers is the highest paid quarterback in the league. So part of Brady and the Patriots being so good is he takes pay cuts. So should he have taken that big contract? How are they going to get more players?
Yeah, that is always like the Brady takes less and it works out type thing.
Yeah, it does.
But there's also an aspect of quarterbacks need to continue to move the market up for all the other quarterbacks coming. I never experienced it. I just
Also,
heard that.
you can take less. You can take less if Bill Belichick is your GM. I want everyone to realize something. They lost Nate Solder, who got the biggest contract for tackles in the league, right? By the not so smart New York Football Giants. You know how they replaced him? First rounder Isaiah Wynn, who got hurt, but it didn't matter because Belichick had traded for Trent Brown.
Sure.
And by the way, traded practically nothing for him when you look at it. Sony Michel at the end of the first round. How about Kyle Van Noy? For nothing, he picked up Kyle Van Noy.